Hey, hello, friends. Welcome to the show. I'm Joe, and today, special guest. This one, I think, has mastered the art of juggling. hmm hmm Street performance. Not only a school superintendent, but also running a very successful consulting practice. So we get to unpack and get to hear a little bit more today. Jason Mantell, he's only superintendent of America, I believe, uh, who spent some time working in county child welfare, which I think gives an incredible lens on the day job that he currently has now. I think most soups are just saying, "Hey, I'm drowning, right? I can barely manage my district." Um, but Jason is saying, I can lead my district. I can teach other leaders how to lead with clarity and accountability and all of that stuff. So, Jason, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the invitation. I'm really happy to be here.
So, let me first question. I think most superintendents would say, "Yes, I'm overwhelmed, Joe. Absolutely overwhelmed." But you're running a very successful school system, uh, Oak Hill Union Local School District, right? Small
Yes.
rural, yeah. But at the same time, you've got a pretty successful consulting practice that isn't just feeding your Java-like characters. You're helping develop clarity, developing systems that create better performance for folks, even across that sector. So, tell me what's it like to be you these days, my friend?
Well, I don't want to say overwhelmed constantly. I mean, there are moments we can pretend that we're not, but in roles like this, it hits us all. We're human. So for me, really exciting, just a really exciting time for Oak Hill. Went public with my, coaching and consulting practice during the fall, and family. I've been married for just over 20 years, three children. One just entered college. One is a senior and one is in middle school. So busy,
All,
yes.
all three kids still on the cell phone plan?
All three kids are on the cell phone plan, the
Okay.
health
Yeah.
insurance, absolutely.
Yeah,
Paying for
we threw a
car
party. We
insurance.
threw a threw a party when all 3 kids were off the cell phone plan, so just imagine. Just imagine.
Yeah.
So, let me just build on that because, your was it 2 years running, Scioto County Children's Services? Were you there for 2 years?
Yes, I was. So just 25 months exactly.
Okay, so, my guess is it gave you something most superintendents never have the privilege of getting. You honestly led through crisis management, stuff that, you probably can't talk about a whole lot, but we wouldn't even be able to imagine, just, all the stuff that's making headlines. You're understanding the backstory of multi-agency coordination, just periods of probably heightened, public accountability and just organizational stress, and which is code probably for things are on fire and everybody's publicly watching. Then you came back. You decided to be a superintendent at Oak Hill, July 2022. Here's my theory: that experience probably taught you that something about leadership that under pressure, right?
No,
We
absolutely.
either turn into cinders or we turn into something that's quite valuable, right? That career superintendents, most of them don't have those opportunities. What was it? What was that for you?
So for me, as far as I had reached the point where I was a director of operations and assistant superintendent simultaneously in another district. And really, Joe, I was looking at superintendent roles. I'd applied. I had interviewed. I was offered a position. Um, this was all when COVID was at its early stages and a lot of uncertainty. In the midst of this, I hadn't worked in my home county for years, well over a decade, and the executive director position at Scioto County Children's Services came up. They were in crisis. To be fair, I had not worked in a children's services organization, um, and I really weighed options. Ultimately, at the end of the day, after a lot of thought and a lot of back and forth. We felt it was a really good opportunity for me to delve into, for my family's sake, but really more for the community. I was able to take this opportunity, give back. I had a lot of learning to do. Again, when you enter any place in crisis mode, it's challenging, but especially in area, I'd served uh, parents and students and staff members of communities for a long time, but this was different, and I'm glad I did it.
So I'm wondering because a lot of times those crisis situations are like career enders for I mean the wrong kind of situation can be a career ender for a superintendent. How are you how did you parlay just your ability to deal with crisis into oh it's just Tuesday, right? We expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
It's funny you bring up Tuesdays. That's why I tell people, my most challenging day in a school system, and trust me, I mean this with all respect to
Right.
educators, but my most challenging day in education, I always say, was like a Tuesday at Children's Services.
There it
Um,
is.
I remember one day, one of our supervisors, which is the equivalent of a principal in that world, we had finished and it was a we I say finished. We were coming to the end of the standard workday. There were people on call 24/7, 365. But I remember we finished. It was I don't know. We come to the end of the day, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, and kind of looked at one another. It was like, this was an awesome day. It was a day where we it was the only day I can remember that we weren't either working out of or heading into crisis mode. And that I've never worked in healthcare, but triage is probably a fair statement to what we were working with. And I just remember that one day, and I still have a really good relationship with our staff. Some Many of the people are still there, especially the administrative staff. But I remember that day. I can remember where I was in the office, and it was like, man, this was a really good day. We were able to solve a lot of challenges that day, reunite some families, keep kids safe, which is our overwhelmingly that's the role we played. But that day it was like no new crisis, and it was really great. That's it. There was one in 25 months, but it was a really great day. Um, but
So
like
if
I
you
said,
were given yeah, if you were given some advice, and I know probably you've done this through your own consulting service, but there are a lot of superintendents out there that are maybe a crisis away from just like that's it. I'm done. I cannot handle it. We've got a lot going on in my great state of Minnesota right now, with federal agents and
sure,
schools and children, and just the stress level of our superintendents feeling beyond overwhelmed, and it's not a resilience speech that they're looking for. It's how do I reclaim me while I'm still doing the work? Any insights, wisdom, it doesn't have to be real clinical, but just some encouragement like okay, here's some things that I would recommend for a very stressed out leader in a very crazy, brittle, uncertain time.
yeah. I mean, you mentioning Minnesota, and that, I mean, it's what's going on there is beyond tragic, and maybe that's another time for there's a time for another conversation about
Absolutely, absolutely.
you know, when in Ohio, at least, I never in my career that I think I would be with our admin team preparing them and explaining, and I had to learn like when can I legally let a federal officer in the building, when to stop them, how to stop them, what that looks like, and we've actually had those discussions. And this is year 26 for me in public service, and I never thought that that would occur. But what I would say, and what I'm going to provide is not clinical. What I would say is, rely on your support system. Go to them. You know, you can only do so much as an individual. I think leaders we put a lot on our shoulders, and I think, in fairness, a lot of people, boards, community members, parents, students, staff, they put a lot on their shoulders. And listen, I've always told people, you know, don't take a thankless job and then be upset when no one says thank you. Um, you're not going to get nearly as many thanks as you probably deserve or maybe have earned. But the reality is, our jobs wouldn't exist if there weren't crises.
So true.
And that's a
So
hard
true.
thing to acknowledge and accept, but rely on your people. Whether it's your family, whether it's your admin team, or some people refer to them as their cabinets in other states. Rely on those people. If you've put in the time and prep work with those people, trust and rely on them to handle what they handle on a daily basis, and also be available for them. But here's the thing: if you have really strong people and you have already built really strong relationships, then you know what? I don't think we have nearly as much to worry about as we think we do. I mean, we have to
Mm,
be the point person. We're the person, whether it's on local radio, whether it's on television, whether it's doing a podcast.
all right.
We're out in front of we're out in front of it. But take a breath, step back, trust the people that you have been trusted in the roles specific to them, and lead with confidence. That's what I would say.
You don't have to give names, but tell me about your community that you go to when you're just seeking. I need some encouragement. I need some wisdom. I need a punching bag. I need somebody to preach to me. Whatever it happens to be. Yeah, what is that in your world? Because I know the further you go up the org chart, the more lonely it gets to being able to have genuine conversations with people that actually get it.
It does. I'm fortunate to have, my wife and I've been married, like I said, just over 20 years, and I also an educator. So I have someone who understands to some degree in her role and the role she's played and the role that she's currently serving in another district. So I have that luxury. Plus, it's just a super strong individual who resilient work ethic, high level. So I'm blessed to have that. I don't know that everyone has that. I do, but building a community locally. So other superintendents are great resources, veterans and also newer superintendents. And one thing I really had to, I don't want to say force myself, but one thing that I did in the last 3 years is force myself out of the local regional comfort zone. I have
Yeah.
people across many states who I can communicate with. What are you all doing? What are you doing? How have you dealt with this challenge? So I think build a network of people within education, but also look at people outside of education. And not everyone you talk to has to be a superintendent or a CEO. These can be people who are longstanding principals. These can be people who have been managers for an extended period of time because they all can bring something to assist you. And hopefully, you're not just taking, you're also giving
Right.
some value you have. So that's build a strong network, and that does take time. But don't think everyone has to be within a mile of you or in the same county as you. Reach out to people who you don't know. I've had really good success with that. People I had no clue about, and people
Yeah.
have done the same with me.
We just had facilitated a roundtable just yesterday with K-12 superintendents and college presidents to talk about the nearly impossible tasks related to just the complexity of the work today. We talked about how VUCA, the term VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, has moved to this thing called BANI, brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and just inconceivable. Who would have thought about this when we were sitting in our lecture halls in ed class, 101? And the complexities of the work, but also the accountability of there's nobody else to do the work. Tag, we're it. So communities like that are essential, right? To just keep all of us propped up in worthy work because it is worthy. I mean, all of us in that roundtable would echo. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, and this pain is a privilege. To your point earlier,
No,
so good.
it absolutely is. I mean, I think, I although I do coach leaders and other professionals, I have a coach. I mean, I don't, I need that. That's great for me. I mean, we need to be humbled sometimes as leaders, so we need an honest feedback. When I went through, working with people who I think would coach me the best, a lot of people say they want honesty, they want candor. Well, I got that. I received that. Regularly, twice a month from my coach and
Yeah.
who I'm currently working with, and it's great. And I mean, I actually had a coaching session yesterday with him, and part of what he discussed is, we're looking at a specific goal, and he said, "Hey, let's narrow down that goal." And I gave him, he said, "No, narrow it down." And I gave him
Mm,
a lot of adjectives and probably too many fancy terms. He said, "Listen, we can sit here," and he said, "You're paying me either way." He said, "But the reality is you need to be honest about what you want, and you need to put a timetable on it, and you need to put a process in place." And here's the thing. I think I do a really, really good job of helping and guiding others to that. But sometimes I do a really bad job of doing it myself. And I think that's where we need to check ourselves sometimes. And that's why building a community and finding strong, excuse me, finding strong people who will be honest with us and consistent with us is key if we're going to be successful and if we're going to guide and lead, whether it's a small district or a Fortune 500 organization.
I think that is a notable plug for any superintendent or executive leader thinking, well, if we had the funds, I would support somebody to help me. Uh, Spot on, you're a professional. And I don't know many professionals that aren't being coached, right? Not just
Yeah.
in the athletic arena, but in most of the executive suites. Just claim it. Like act like you are an executive, and you got to get yourself in a position where you can get pushed around a little bit to better your skill set, to better your mindset, to better your heart set, all of that stuff. So let's talk about your consulting gig, right? Spencer Street Solutions.
Yeah.
It, I pulled up that your work is grounded in empathy, like really just caring and attending for the heart, inspiring the heart of the leader. Accountability. So there's probably some loop back features of you stating something that you intend to do in 30 days and somebody there to say, did you do it or not? Right. And probably decades of just lived experience as you've the highs and the lows, right? Who's your audience? And what's the impact of your consulting service?
So for me, we can talk about going as broad as we want, but realistically, there are uh, the majority of the people I work with are in one of two pathways. So where my background, a quarter century in public ed, I primarily, not exclusively, but I primarily work with leaders in education. I also work with leaders in small government, um, just to work through the challenges that they're seeing, that they're feeling, and it's a relatable experience. I want people to feel that, and I want to learn too. I mean, here's the thing about it: I don't know everything, and I'm never going to, and I'm never going to claim to. The other side of this is I do some advising work. And what I've really enjoyed, I started doing this several years ago. And I started working with early stage startups, primarily in
Mhm.
tech, but some in service industries. I learned so much from them. They would go away thanking me for perspective and doing this. And I'm thinking, I'm the one gaining the perspective. And I would circle back and share that with them. I was like, hey, understand. Like, I know, you're viewing this as an advisor advisee relationship, but I'm learning a ton from you. So I've moved on to that too. Obviously as a superintendent, I have to be careful about, what I do. We have ethics, you know, ethics filings that we have every year. And I make sure that I steer very clear.
Sure, sure.
And I keep things on the straight and narrow, but really it's leaders in, you don't have to be an executive leader to have a conversation or work with me. You can be an aspiring leader. You can be someone in middle management. You can be someone, a principal who's aspiring superintendent, and that's on the coaching side. But on the advising side, I love working with early stage startups. I love it. I had actually
Mantell,
had someone,
you just
I
lit
actually,
up when you talked about it. You just lit up when you started talking about
well,
anybody with an idea that wants to put it
yes,
into motion.
Joe, when I was preparing for this, because I've been doing this on a non-advertised basis for a little while, and a lot of people, I don't say a lot of people, there are some people who do this, and there's this huge financial incentive, and I want to be fair. If you're bringing value, yes, you should earn, what you're earn something for what you're putting out there. But I had someone who does this and that said, "Don't bother with early stage; they don't have any money." And as a business person, I thought, well, I don't know, maybe that's a way to look at it. But I was like, if I believe in what they're producing, if I believe in what their idea is, what they're going to create, why would I not want to help them?
Exactly.
Because if they've got something that's awesome, and just because they don't have a lot of income right now, what if me shunning them? What if you shunning them means this never gets out into the world? And what if it's something that can be evolutionary? What if it's something that could revolutionary? What if it's something that could be life changing for people? And because they can't pay us a certain amount of money, we're just going to say no. I mean, I just, maybe that's the ignorant educator in me, the ignorant business person in me. I don't know. As educators, we know this.
I
Regardless
think
of
it's
where
the
they,
heart of the educator. I will go back to that 1,000 times to say that those in the private sector don't understand the purpose-filled part of everything that we do has to have like grounded purpose in
Yeah.
changing lives. So if you see that potential, and and you've got some wisdom to leverage towards the benefit of somebody else, that's who you are. It's not what we do, it's always who we are.
Well, here's what I know. I'm not the fit for everybody, and there are people I talk to, and I'm like, "You know what? I may not be the best person for you, but
Yeah.
I think I can guide you and let you know, maybe make some recommendations." But for me, it's like, I'm not gonna be the person who's like, "Yeah, we compensation is very reasonable, and it should be expected," when we're talking about this. But I think when we make everything transactional, and when we make everything about, "Well, I have to make this much in order for it to be worth my while," I really think we're cheapening and ignoring the human experience. What are we
Yeah.
doing? Why can't what happened? Why can't we help someone? Because number one, they need some help, and number two, they came to you. They could have gone to anybody, but they came to you. And yes, I mean, I have rates and I have this and that, but like, when it boils down to it, I want to help as many people as I possibly can for as long as I can, and that's what I want to do.
Brag a little bit. What's going on at Oak Hill that shouldn't be going on, where the math just doesn't add up, where you do have a significant headwind. Everybody's
Yeah.
got a headwind, but you're working that headwind and you're seeing some results that maybe your local systems are pretty envious about.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, for us, college credit plus courses in house, college credit outside of the school day, or excuse me, within the regular school day, has been a big thing for quite a while. I got here 3.5 years ago. We had 0 credit hours. We didn't do anything. Our students were leaving. We have two state universities who were reasonably close to us, three actually, and students were leaving. And we had a situation where we had kids, they weren't getting a regular, what I would consider a high school experience. I was like, "What? Let's fix this. What can we do?" So we have over 20 hours in house. We had some staff members who were very, very willing and receptive to being certified as college professors, or whatever process, depending on the subject area they had to go through. So we worked with our teachers. We provided some resources for them, so they weren't paying out of pocket. So we have over 20 hours. We are the first school in the state of Ohio to have a certified athletic trainer also teaching coursework for students who are interested in becoming certified athletic trainers in school, in the high school. So we are the first in Ohio. I don't know how many have done this since, but we have a partnership with a local healthcare organization, with our district, and with our local career and tech center. So we have a three-way partnership that costs us under 10 grand a year. We get a full-time athletic trainer who also teaches two courses a day, as well
Wow.
as as well as a lab. It's awesome, and I love it. We have There's a significant shortage, I know, in Ohio for for these positions. So we had to when I got here, we had no trainer. We have to have a trainer. We didn't have one. I went to some people and said, "Hey, here's what I want to do. Let's start with why we can't do it, and then let's work through that and figure out how we can do it." So we figured it out within the first year. We had an awesome athletic trainer. She's still with us. She's teaching courses. She's certified. It was no money out of her pocket. And one of my, when I talked to the hospital, who we have to have the agreement with, I said, "Hey, I know common practice with an athletic trainer is they're working in the morning at the hospital." And I said, "Hey, we work her in the morning, then we have her teach, then we have her attend practices, then we have her attend games." I said, "She's going to be on a stretch of 14 to 16-hour days." I said, "You know what we're going to have in 6 months? Another athletic trainer." And I said,
Yep.
"So can we agree that she does not have to work in the clinic?" So her day starts much later in the day. She comes in, her first responsibility is to teach our kids. And then her secondary responsibility after that is to work in the lab and then work with our student athletes the rest of the evening. It's been great. She's been with us 3 years.
There's just one of dozens of examples where you helped to create a startup within your own system, and not only started it up, but had enough wisdom to say, "How do we sustain this?" All right, let's move this thing into a lightning round. I wish
Okay.
these minutes just burn right by, but we're going to see how real human you are, Mister Superhuman. What's a quote that you live by, Jason?
I mean, I would say I have a couple. One of them, and for the Ted Lasso fans out there, I don't want to butcher this, but what is it? It's be curious, not judgmental, and I hope I got that right. But that is huge to me, and it's something that I think that it shouldn't have taken uh, Ted Lasso, this character, to have this out into the world. But it has, and I'm glad that the character said it. I'm glad that it's out there. I just think that's so important. Curiosity is something I think used to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm reminiscing in a way that isn't.
You want the George books back, just
Yeah.
Curious George. No, I
Yes.
get it. I get it.
I
We're gonna
love.
keep burning. We're gonna keep burning. This is a lightning round, which
No,
means we're going.
we're good.
Night owl or a morning person?
I like the morning, but night owl.
Okay. A decision you'd make 10 times over. Think about it.
This is the that is the easiest question you could have asked me. I left my hometown, which I thought was my dream job, right out of college. Got a teaching and coaching job. Everyone, he's going to be here 30 years. The best thing I ever did was leave. I went to a place I knew nothing about. I met my wife. We got married, and I never looked back. Best decision I ever made.
Skyline Chili or Gold Star, boss?
Skyline.
How about best decision you've ever learned from being both a system leader and having a consulting practice?
The best that I've learned from, but oh,
Yeah,
another. Okay. So a lightning round. Be a great listener. Listen to learn. And as soon as you think you're the best listener, realize that you're not, and keep learning.
but even when people they're hiring you to give them answers, you're still saying, "I
Yeah.
need to be a good listener."
I'm going to tell you right now, in my consulting, we talk about coaching, consulting, advising, and we can give a million different definitions. Anyone I coach, the best thing I can do is ask them questions. They're going to solve their own problems. They're going to set their own goals. They're going to solve their own problems. I'm there to help guide the process. If you want a consultant to come in and evaluate and tell you what to do, I can do that. But if you really want to get down to it, let's work together. Talk to me about being a coach, because
So
that's the best way
important.
to do it.
Yeah, so important to know the difference there. Hey, if you were not a superintendent with a consulting firm, what would you be doing?
I'm neither one of those. I can't be either one of those.
You can't
I
be
would
either one.
I would. Some people who know me, this may shock, but I would want to work for the National Park Service or one of the state park services. That's what I
Dream
would do.
job. Yeah,
That's what I would
yeah.
do.
Get
I love it.
outside.
I
Getting
love it.
outside.
I love
Hey,
it.
what did you teach back in the day?
I taught language arts, I taught career ed, and I taught social studies.
Got it. So what would teacher Jason be saying right now? Laying some smack down about superintendent Jason.
All right, so I'm gonna do half my life. I'm 46. I'm gonna look at 23-year-old teacher, coach Jason versus 46-year-old superintendent. 23-year-old would say, "Hey, while I appreciate your role and what you do, what are you doing to make sure that you understand the challenges and successes that are taking place in our classrooms right now?"
Hmm.
That's the
Oh,
question that 23-year-old Jason would have asked.
don't keep that too far in the back of your head because I think
Yeah.
it should drive all things. What's one word or a short phrase? The future of Oak Hill.
Continued innovation.
Continued. Like we're not going to start it. We're going to continue it. Fantastic.
We've begun. Yeah.
And related to that, AI versus your best masterful teacher. Who's winning?
Not even close, teacher. Every time. Every time.
Jason, I wish we had more time. You are definitely wired to solve big problems, and you're in a small district, but that does not mean that you don't have significant challenges. I love the builders out there who honestly are modeling the way. They're inspiring the heart at the same time. Being a people leader and a system leader is what you must do from that office. And if there's a superintendent out there that is leaning in right now that might still just kind of be stuck or wondering, is this what I have to do for the rest of my life? What's just a bit of encouragement that you would give somebody that might be just stuck or stumbling right now?
I would ask them to reflect on why they got into it to start. There's a reason. Find that reason. look back to that reason. And those reasons adapt and change over time. But um, look at your core, why you started doing this, and remind yourself that there are people who you have impacted that you don't know yet. I will just give you a quick one. I know we're up against it. I got a message, a Facebook request from a person 2 or 3 days ago. She was a senior in high school, my first year as an administrator. Reached out to me, wanted to connect. Immediately after I connected, she sent a message and said, I want to thank you. I now work with young people, and I chose that. She said, I've often thought throughout my adulthood how kind you were to me. And she said, you probably don't even remember, but she said, your kindness and how you treated young people is why I want to work with young people. And I've not shared that with anyone until today. I got that message 2 days ago. It reminded me that no matter how difficult things are, there are people, and this was, we're talking 15 years ago, and
Yeah.
she remembered that. And
Yeah.
that's why we do it. So if you're struggling, whether you've heard it from that person or not, that person's they're going to reach out to you at some point. So you've impacted someone tremendously that you don't even realize. And I didn't realize it.
So rich. So rich.
Yeah.
How do they find out more about your school system?
Well, my school system. So Oak Hill Union Local, look us up. If you look up Oak Hill Union Local, our website, Facebook, we're on both. So check us out. We have regular updates.
How about Spencer Street?
SpencerStreetSolutions.com is the website. I'm active on LinkedIn. If you want to look me up on LinkedIn, it's just Jason Mantell, JASON MANTELL. I'm on there. So SpencerStreetSolutions.com. Hey, if you want to chat, and again, if anyone wants to, you can schedule time with me on there. It is completely, there's zero requirement. There's zero
No pressure.
to pay
No
for it. No pressure. I love to meet new people.
Very good. This has been one of the most legit conversations I've had in months, and really appreciate your time with us. Thank you very much. That's the show, folks. Peace. Stay healthy.